Today, I'm going to tell you about Joe Biden's political policies that the media has casually mentioned, but only mentioned once or twice, so the voters don't know what they really are. They don't repeat it like talking about the coronavirus and blaming Trump or the unemployment and blaming Trump. I will get to that, why that's not Trump's fault. But let me talk about Joe Biden's policies. They don't want you to know Joe Biden is not for the working people or small business, as he says. Joe Biden said he was going to do a national stay-at-home rule. It was the stay-at-home rules that caused millions to be unemployed. But Trump didn't do the stay-at-home rules, and right now, that was done by governors, local officials, and county. Okay? Now people are being out of work. Mostly single parents or minorities, because of the school districts, the school boards, the local school boards, the governor, and or shutting down in-person classes. Well, these people cannot work. They do not get an income. They don't get any income at all, but no unemployment, because if you go to any state, no matter Democrat or Republican, the state labor department there will tell you they don't qualify unemployment. It's not a good excuse to refuse work. It is a refuse work, they say. So, Trump is not the one that caused unemployment in this case. But Joe Biden said he would cause the unemployment because he said he would do a national stay-at-home. Well, it doesn't matter what state you're in, you're not going to have a job. He's going to close down all businesses. So, including small businesses and large corporations. So employees won't have a job at all. No matter. He might allow essential businesses like Walmart or Dillon, Kroger or whatever, or Kroger or Dillon's or whatever you have, but he's going to close down everything he wants. So there's going to be millions more out of work with the policy. Now his climate change policy, his Green Deal, that causes unemployment because, it's against gas, oil, and coal. And the reason why is because he's against that. And he doesn't care how many jobs people lose. He doesn't care about the swing states that depend on those kinds of jobs. He doesn't care that manufacturing facilities whatever we got left can't meet the demands of those regulations because it will cost them millions and millions of dollars. And they will move to China or any other country that might have those regulations, but they don't enforce them, But see, that's the issue. So he's not for jobs. He's trying to take away your job if he becomes president. He's also not for the unborn. I see those Republicans voting for Joe Biden, and I'm like, what? What is your problem? Do you know he wants to get rid of every single state abortion restriction? And he's going to do it by executive action? He said he would. He said he would make sure that every restriction, including state restrictions, would have to go through the DOJ. You know he's going to pick an attorney general that's against abortion restrictions. And that attorney general is going to say, hey, gone. That state restriction's gone. That state restriction's gone. They don't care about the Constitution that says state rights, the 10th Amendment. They don't care. He don't care because he wants a big federal government. Media's not telling you about that, but that's what he said. He said he's going to suspend all deportation. Not just people without violent criminals, but it includes people that have violent criminal records. He's going to suspend all deportation. So, I don't know why you're voting for Joe if you consider yourself conservative or Republican. Who cares about character? You're giving the man a pen and a phone, as Obama said, to do whatever he wants. And Obama put in most of the judges, the lower court judges. And it could take 2 years for the Supreme Court, the only conservative out there, because all the majority of the district court judges in the appeals court are led by liberal judges. It would give a level stamp for Joe Biden's policy. So, and he said he's gonna go after religious organizations and churches that don't support LGBT. I believe everybody has a right to choose who they want to be with, but you can't force religious institutions to accept that. We have freedom of religion. We're not communism, or the state mandates that churches have to have this kind of policy. And that's what Joe Biden wants to do. He wants to mandate churches and religious organizations to have a state mandate on LGBT. When the thing is, it's not his right and authority to do that, but he don't care because he's going to use his pen and phone. He's going to use his pen and phone. So, on another issue, there's gun rights. He's not gun rights. He wants gun manufacturers. He says he's going to use an executive order, which doesn't, remember, executive orders don't need Congress. Just a pen and phone. Obama made that clear. And which he's right, just a pen and phone. So he's going to allow gun manufacturers to be sued every time a criminal uses a gun. So every time Chicago has 1,000 deaths by guns, every single victim's family can sue the gun manufacturer. Not just Chicago, but even in small towns when criminals, kill people. It don't matter if it's a small town, big city. Criminals are going to kill people. And every time a criminal kills somebody, you allow them to sue the gun manufacturer for that. That's going to put gun manufacturers out of business. And that's his intention. He wants to put gun manufacturers out of business so that they can't make guns. So he's banning gun manufacturing. But that's only one test. Because what he's going to do then, he says, I ban gun manufacturing. He's going to ban guns completely. If it works that way, it's going to work the other way. Like I said, he has all the lower court judges in his favor. You're basically screwed if you're a Republican challenging it. Until it gets to the Supreme Court, which could be 2 years. So 2 years he gets to have his banning policies on guns. So this guy wants to raise taxes. He says, I gotta raise corporate taxes. Well, guess what? The reason why, and one of the reasons why corporations went to other countries, not because cheaper labor, but also cheaper taxes. We were the highest, before Trump took office, we were the highest corporate tax in the world, the whole nation. While you could go to China or even European countries. You could go to European countries who have socialism and have low taxes. Lower than the United States. But everybody wants the United States to have the highest tax. Why is that? I don't know. And if you tax the rich high, rich have been bringing back, since we cut the rich's tax too, they've been bringing back the money back to the United States, not overseas accounts. Guess what? You hike up the taxes on the rich, guess what? They're going to put the money back in overseas accounts. You know? It just doesn't work the way the Democrats want it. Their policies don't work for this country. And then they lie that Republicans never had a plan for health care. They did. They had that included pre-existing conditions. Sure, they wanted to put them in high-risk groups, but these were high-risk groups. They weren't like the previous high-risk groups that were underfunded. No, there was funding behind it. That was in the American Health Care Act, which was basically the name was copied off of Obamacare, American Care Act, but it was AHCA instead of ACA. So, but it was a little bit different that they put them in high risk groups, but it was funded. It was in the legislation to fund it. John McCain synced it with his vote. He synced it. So the late John McCain synced it. So that's why Trump has issued John McCain, because of that. He liked John McCain before that, he did have some 2016 comments about John McCain, but they started getting along all over Trump's presidency until John McCain sank the bill. He sank the bill. And the late John McCain. So, yeah, they had a plan, and it included pre-existing conditions. So, to say there wasn't a plan, there was. And I'm tired of the media saying, well, Trump caused the coronavirus death. No. February 15th, and they bring up Trump's faults, but they're not bringing up the Trump administration's actions. Okay? February 15th, 2020, Alex Saul, HSA secretary, told the governor, the Maryland governor, Republican governor, Larry Hogan, the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, that, hey, this is what you got to do about the coronavirus. This is what you got to do. You got to you got to get PPE, you got to do ventilators, you got to get all this, and because the virus could become badly, it wasn't at the time, but it could become badly, and they said that the states have the sole power for quarantine and isolation, including stay-at-home orders, okay? The stay-at-home orders, and that's true, this 10th Amendment gives police powers to the states. I mean, Joe Biden don't care about the 10th Amendment, so he wants to do a national stay-at-home order. He don't care. But Trump cares about the 10th Amendment because he got elected based off of state rights. So he's trying to get the states power that by law and by Constitution have, And he says, make the decision, okay? And they did that February 15th. They were also told by law if they want federal help, they will have to ask for federal help. They will have to do a state of emergency. That is in the federal emergency law. A during an emergency, including the pandemic, not just natural disaster, they are supposed to do a state of emergency, and that gives a request to the president for federal help. The president cannot just send the federal FEMA out there without the state of emergency. He can't. The governors waited till March to take action. Whether it was a Republican or Democratic governor, they did not take action until March. They're the ones that delayed any help. Governor Andrew Cuomo waited until thousands and thousands of bodies piled up before he took action. And he, to that yesterday, blamed Trump. And I was like, no, Trump didn't do it. You did it. Cuomo. You did it, New York Governor Cuomo. You're the reason why all those bodies in New York. You waited. And guess what? Cuomo and Hogan's names were on the memos that was sent to all 50 governors telling them about all these procedures and laws and how the virus could get badly. They knew about it. They knew about it. They waited. And they happened to be anti-Trump, so I guess they let all the bodies die just so they could blame Trump. It was political to let the bodies pile up. I mean, there's also unemployment. That's not Trump. He didn't do the stay-at-home ones that closed down business. He didn't close in-person classes. That was the governor. That was the governors. That was the local school board. That was the state board of education. That was the county officials. That was the local governments. They're the ones that closed down businesses. They caused unemployment. But like I said, Biden wants to cause the unemployment because he wants to do a national stay-at-home. So, there's no reason, policy-wise, to vote for Joe Biden. If you're in a swing state, or you're conservative, or you're Republican, or you're an independent that leans Republican. There's no reason to listen to the Lincoln Project, who doesn't care, and they know Joe Biden's policies, and they know what he's going to do by executive order, but they don't care. And part of that is because John McCain did not win, and Trump won, and Jeb Bush didn't win, and Trump won. Because Jeb was the golden boy for the anti-Trump Republicans, and that's why they're so anti-Trump. I mean, many of the policies that Trump did were exactly what the Tea Party, those anti-Trump Republicans embraced and had no problem with, like a hardline immigration, pro-life policies, pro-gun, all that stuff is something those same anti-Trump Republicans embraced and had no problem. No, it was because not Joe Biden, it was because Jeb Bush did not get the nomination, the Republican nomination. So, and now the media is making up stories. They're saying Trump didn't want amputees, and I'm like, that's wrong. Because the thing is, during his campaign, without people, there wasn't, he didn't have the cameras following him at the time, but he went up to amputees and he couldn't shake hands because some of them had no arms. He touched one guy's face, to show he cares, He didn't know cameras were watching him at the time. So, it wasn't even a photographer who took the picture, it was a professional. It was somebody, like a guest that was there that took a picture of it. So, and he posted it on a blog, not even a big name news source. But that's the thing, is he doesn't care. And they said he didn't want to go see the soldier. He always treasures the people who died for this country. I mean, Jeffrey Goldberg, who owns the Lantern magazine, can't provide any evidence. And he said people that know of his thinking, or people that know of some administration official thinking, it's anonymous. I don't think reporters should be using anonymous sources to try to influence the election, because many of those anonymous sources are not even real. That's why they can't prove it. None of those reporters. And I used to be a reporter, and there was very few instances I used anonymous source, but now it's all too common. Sun Windows is an anonymous source. So, and the people that knows his thinking. I mean, that's the funniest thing. But the media is interfering in the election to help Joe Biden. They want to help Joe Biden because they love Joe. They sure don't want to talk about how he's on video, an NBC News video, touching little girls and women in spots they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be, and pushing them against his line. You know, one little girl that he was touching in an appropriate place kicked him in the knee. And it's on video, an NBC News video. So you can't just dismiss the NBC News video and say it's faux news, as they like to say, the Democrats say. So the issue is, and when he was accused of sexual assault, you had the media shame the victim, shame the alleged victim, and try to find anything against her. I mean, when Trump was accused of sexual assault, they tried to find everything against Trump, not the victim, the alleged victims. I mean, it was a different story because they support Joe Biden. They love Joe Biden. And they don't want Trump in office. And that's your local news? Yes, okay. Your local news and national news. It doesn't matter if it's local or national. They're against Trump. And they're going to find stories. They're going to find so-called anonymous sources. They're going to interfere in the election, domestic interference in the election, because they don't want Trump in office. And it's hard to fight it when you got it every day going on. And then they're trying to sink the stock market because they want a recession, which we're in a recession, but they want a depression. You know, with all these anonymous source stories too. It's just like, and then a lot of those stories get proven wrong. And they're trying any way possible, Joe Biden and the media, to make Trump lose. And you just don't know his policy. You don't know Joe Biden's policies, actual policy. Well, I just gave them to you. Everyone needs to stop listening about the coronavirus because you're not getting all the information. You're not getting that memo. Okay? They're not talking about that on the news. And they're putting Trump for unemployment. Well, you gotta understand, unemployment was happening because of the stay-at-home orders that Trump did not do. And now it's in person classes. And now they're blaming him for the unrest. No. What happened is George Floyd was killed by a white officer. Okay? And then you had protests that turned violent because you had people that were extremists that joined the protest. And they're all BLM protesters that are extremists because they actually come from other groups that believe in extremism. Like the Black Panthers will get involved, or some other or Luz Farrakhan's organization will get involved. And some of those BLM leaders are in those groups as well. They're just not BLM, and that's it. And Antifa will get involved. And Antifa, media say Antifa is fake. It's not fake. It's just loosely based organizations that lead and left. They have their own organizations, but they're loosely tied to a ghetto. There's no big head at Antifa. They might call themselves the head of Antifa, but there really is no head of Antifa. They're just loosely organized. There's no top national organization. BLM is more organized than Antifa is. Antifa is just basically Marxists and anarchists, and they get involved, and that's how we got shootings. And the truth is, yes, Trump supporters, some of the Trump supporters, the far-right Trump supporters, are violent themselves, but if you look at it, they usually come in after the riots have happened, after BLM protesters and Antifa had destroyed property. They believe in vigilante justice, which you don't do. I don't support vigilante justice. But in this situation, we have Democratic mayors and governors that tell the police who are supposed to deal with crime to stand down, and they tell them and they let the protesters do whatever they want. I mean, in Seattle, we had protesters, which were actually violent protesters, they were rioters, take over city blocks, and the mayor did nothing.